Hi, the piece you just heard is called Lullaby. It's one of 3 lullabies in my book, 101 Easy Ukulele Solos, or to give it the Hawaiian pronunciation, 101 Easy Ukulele Solos. My first tip on playing this piece has to do with the first 3 chords, which in a way are the same chord. It's just the same idea, moved to different frets. And the first 3 chords would sound like this. And the trick there is to fit 3 fingers into 1 fret. And there's 4 different ways to do that. One way is to use your 3 most powerful fingers, 1, 2, 3, also the most coordinated fingers. The problem with that way for a lot of people is if you're an adult or you have a small ukulele or slightly larger fingertips, you can't get them into the same fret. It's just too hard to do. There's not enough space. A trick to help with that is to turn your hand a little bit, but even so, a lot of people find that difficult. So you might try the second way to finger it, which is to use the smaller fingertips on fingers 2, 3, and 4 to do the same thing. A third way is to use what's called a bar, which is a flattened finger, usually the index finger, and just hold down 3 strings with 1 finger. There's a couple of tricks to do this. One is to make sure your thumb is in the middle of the neck, not wrapped around the ukulele like this. That's necessary just both for a bar that covers a couple of strings or 3 strings and all 4 strings. You don't want to wrap your thumb around like that. That doesn't help. It makes it much harder or almost impossible. The 4th way to do it is to use 3 fingers, but to put the index finger on the 2nd string, which seems a little odd, the 2nd finger on the 3rd string, and the 3rd finger on the 1st string, all 3 of them in the 2nd fret, like this. That's kind of like a squashed up G7 chord. I thought a G7 and moved my index finger up to that 2nd fret. That's way you don't see too often, but it used to be in the old Mel Bay chord book, and I've had a few students who like that a lot. So it's worth a try if you don't like the other 3 ways to play the chord. And I would use, when you're performing lullaby, I'd use whichever of the 3 ways you find the most comfortable. And you might practice the bar one to perfect that technique for later pieces. This first chord, the G major 7, if you move it up a string to strings 4, 3, and 2, you're going to get a D chord, which is a more common chord on ukulele. You use this one all the time. The only thing you've got to be careful with that is to make the 1st string ring. And so you've got to clear it. That's pretty much can't be done with the bar unless you're quite double jointed. So you might practice if you decide to play this piece with the bar. You might also practice one of the other 3 fingerings so you can convert it to playing the D chord. Tip number 2 for lullaby is not to take the notation too literally when you do the strums. Officially, when you have 3 notes stacked on top of each other in a chord, you're supposed to play them all at the same time. But that doesn't really mean all at the same time in the same nanosecond like this. That gets a pretty strange idea of this piece. It sounds kind of like this. And I get some students who do that, and then I tell them, oh, it's perfectly okay to strum slowly. And once I tell them that, they go, oh, yes, that does sound better for this piece. It just hadn't occurred to them. I also like to do this piece with a thumb strum so I can get all the flesh on it for a nice, sweet sound. I get some students who like to do it this way, which tends to sound a little harsh for this piece. And the last thing I could say about this one is there's kind of a bad habit on ukulele. You probably catch me doing it here because it's not a bad habit on a piece like this. What the right hand has to do in this is so easy that this idea of holding the ukulele with your fingers while you strum with your thumb, usually that's really not a good thing to do. But in this piece, you can get away with it, and if it makes it easier to get that nice sweet sound, I'd go right ahead. Tip number 3 is not to take the notation too seriously. There's 3 examples of this I can think of right off the bat in lullaby, places you could change the music, and I wouldn't mind, and you're free to do that, and go right ahead. The first one is this opening chord. I had it strummed with 3 notes. You could strum the 4th string and you'd get this. You get a little jazzier sound that way. I kind of like that. Feel free to do that if you like that sound. It doesn't sound the same on every ukulele. On some ukuleles, the clash between these 2 notes comes out a little more strongly than it does perhaps on this ukulele. And some people don't like that kind of jazzy, dissonant sound. Other people think it's really neat. Go right ahead and strum that 4th string if you'd like. The other thing has also to do with the 4th string. I stick it in between 2 of the chords like this. And that note's in there only for variety. In other words, I could have done it someplace else and I would have been just as happy. As a matter of fact, when I play this piece, I have to really remind myself to do the one that's in the notation, because it would sound just as good to do it somewhere else. I did it twice that time. Let's see, I'll do it once somewhere different. That's nice. I won't do it at all. That's also nice. One other thing you could do is to make the piece a little easier. I did something without thinking that's actually pretty hard for a lot of people. I had this chord held and then I played melody with it. If you'd like to just play the single notes there, that's fine. So if I did the opening phrase that way, it would sound like this. And if you're playing this piece and everything else seems very easy about it, and you'd like to change that one thing, go right ahead. I don't care. I might do that myself on some occasions. I found when I started teaching with this piece that gave people a little more trouble than I anticipated, but it's in the book already. So feel free to take it out if you'd like, and that sort of thing applies for a whole lot of other pieces. The notation is not some holy script that you can't change at all. A lot of times you can change it around and make the piece a little easier for yourself or a little more fun. Go right ahead. Hi, this is Bill Hearn again. If you liked the ukulele pieces you heard on this video, there's about 100 more in my uke book published by Mel Bay, plus more pieces available separately on Sheet Music Plus, a collection I'm adding to all the time. Also, check out my other uke videos on YouTube and my novel Maria's Child, available through Amazon Books. Thanks for listening.